2 months. According to the thing, our last recording was like May 19th. So, what do you have to say after forever?
I guess I would say to all of our fans, the old song, Baby Come Back. No, it's been an insane couple months for us. We've been on the road. Feels like a lot more than we've been home.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for
Patience.
watching. Thank you for your patience.
All
We
right.
appreciate it.
Today's rundown. This is our 21st episode too, which is crazy. But the rundown is the NFL, college football, because a little bit more came out on that. NASCAR, and then to end it all off on the NBA. So we're expecting a short one compared to what earlier things have been. But for the NFL, some highlights right now is that the NFL season is about to begin. And then I don't know. Have you heard the rumors that's going on with the Rams right now?
That what does Darnold come?
Yeah, that Aaron
Aaron
Donald might
Donald
come
coming
back.
back?
He's
Ever?
been working out with the team. I think is what Adam Schefter said a couple of days ago. Like, work. Yeah, according to Adam Schefter, yesterday, Aaron Donald worked out today with the Rams. Donald wanted to do a workout in a football helmet, but did not wear pads. So could you imagine though that team, like just for pass rush, they have Byron Young, um, Aaron Donald, and Miles Garrett.
Hmm.
How do you plan as the head for an OC? Um, and then three of the biggest running backs in the league have signed an extension. Jameer Gibbs signed an extension that made him the highest paid running back in NFL history. He signed a 3-year deal where that could be worth it's worth 67.5 million, but could be worth up to 75 million.
Hmm.
What do you think on that? Is and the Lions being able to finally reach an extension with Gibbs?
I think step one was letting Montgomery go, and that freed up some some money, but also made the writing clear on the wall that they were going to put all their eggs in the Gibbs basket, which Gibbs is probably the heart and soul of that offense. Close second um, is help me out.
St. Brown.
St. Brown, yeah. Close second is St. Brown. But the window's getting smaller and smaller for the Lions. So I am not surprised, not one bit. I think some of the moves the Lions made or didn't make, I think he kind of saw this was coming, and he earns it. He's paid his dues, and he's represented Detroit well, and now we'll see what they can do this year. Detroit coming into a new season
Yeah,
again.
and probably arguably the top three running backs, or at least part of the top five running backs in the NFL, signed an extension this past week. The other two being Jonathan Taylor and Bijan Robinson for Atlanta. Um, Jonathan Taylor and the Colts reached an agreement on a 2-year deal worth $44 million. That could be worth up to 47 million. So they're keeping their core there, and then Bijan signed a 3-year deal worth up to 75 million with 50 million guaranteed.
And it seems like the running back, you know, their their you know playing history, their playing time is just seems like it's short because they take such beatings, time after time after time.
Every year though, it's starting to seem like it's getting more valuable at the running back position.
But yes, so that's what I'm saying. These guys, you got to strike while the iron's hot. Um, and I think as much as anything is now you're kind of seeing, maybe some two-headed horses like you had Montgomery and Gibbs, maybe trying to extend that. But what do you think? Is it kind of shifting some off the quarterbacks onto running backs this day and age?
I think just in general, everything's starting to climb because you know it's being easier for people to pay people now how much money's going around, but still quarterbacks are still signing crazy deals worth, I don't know, up to what, $300 million at least.
Mhm.
Then the Hall of Fame games tonight between the Panthers and the Cardinals. We did this last year and we were way off, but what are your dark horses and favorites for the NFC and AFC?
Oh man.
We did this last year and could not
Yeah.
have been any more off.
For the AFC, don't know if they're a playoff team, but I do like what the Titans are doing. You know, I like with Dayball, you know, as the OC and you know the new coach there. I like what I'm seeing there. I like
I think they're
what Ward's going to do is going to be special. You know, you've got you know Ridley, then you got the
got Cornell Tate out the
Cornell
draft.
Tate out of Ohio State, and you've already got the you know the one kid there from last year. So you got a decent you know core as far as you know receivers.
Yeah, I saw. I don't know what their projected record is, but I think the ceiling for the Titans is 6-11, is something I saw from I think ESPN. But I agree with you. They got, and then along with the wide receiver room, they got Wandale Robinson out of free agency. Where's their sketch? Yeah, out of the draft, they got Carnell Tate and Keldrick Folk. I really like the Keldrick Folk add-on from. All right, let's see. To start off the year, their first 4 games, the Titans get the Jets to start off the year when everyone wants that. The Eagles, the Giants, and then the Ravens. That's their first 4 games. So that's probably what.
Two winnable games.
Yeah, it's 2 winnable games against both New York teams. Then they start play in their division. They play the Texans and then the Colts. So probably won't win either of those. Then they play the Browns. That's winnable. Bengals. Would you say that's winnable with Titans and Bengals?
I think it's winnable. Yeah, the only you know on the road, but I do think it's a winnable game. Yes.
They play probably the best team in their division going off of last year, the Jaguars. They played them and then the Cowboys and then the Jags again. That's probably 3 L's. And they play the Commanders and Lions. That's probably another 2 L's. Honestly, after that Bengals game, the next win I see for the Titans is when they play the Raiders. Christmas, just a little bit after Christmas Day. And then to end off the year, they get the Steelers and Texans. So Steelers probably isn't winnable. So that's what, 4 wins maybe. It's not an easy schedule.
No, I could see 6. You know, but last year they were 3-14. So I think you know when we're from Tennessee, but this might be a hot take, but I think the Titans are going to be better than most people are thinking.
Are they like your dark horse or?
I would not call them a dark horse. We're talking about surprises.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the reason as I brought them up as I was scrolling through, you know, the standings, you know, which obviously they're all 0-0 right now.
Last year, was it you that you said didn't you say the Patriots were your dark horse last year? I feel like one of us said that, or at least we talked about it for a little bit last year.
Maybe. But that worked out good for whoever said that one.
And then we said like what, the Ravens? That didn't go too well.
Yeah, I think for me the AFC East it's a two horse race. You know, Buffalo's moving into their new stadium. You know, we'll see with that loss out of the Super Bowl what that could do to the Patriots. Does it galvanize them? Like, what trajectory does that put them on? Because they were embarrassed. You know,
they don't have an easy schedule this year either. The Patriots.
So, you know, the North. You got to think Baltimore is a favorite, like you said, in the South.
You want to hear this gauntlet that the Patriots have though this year?
Who's that?
So starting on November 8th, they play the Packers, the Lions, the Chargers, the Bills, get a break against the Vikings, then they play the Chiefs, and then they play the Broncos to end off their season.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tough, probably what, month and a half of games right there. And then to open off, they get the Seahawks, Steelers, Jaguars, Bills, all potential playoff teams. Like I think the
Yeah, and
Raiders and Jets are the Vikings and the Dolphins, of course, are the only teams that probably don't have a shot to make the playoffs on their schedule. Outside of that, they have 13 games where that's a playoff potential team.
well, it's where these games are too: at Seattle, at Jacksonville, at Buffalo, at Chicago. You know, you're home to the Lions. You know, at the Chargers, at the Chiefs. So it's not just the teams they're playing; it's they have to go on the road to play those teams. So you get outside of the friendly confines of Foxborough.
Yeah. Super Bowl odds up too. So as of right now, according to ESPN, the favorite is the Rams, of course.
Especially if Darnold comes back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Those odds will probably come down even more for them.
the FC West is always going to be intriguing. You know, if the Chiefs are healthy, is that a 3-horse race, or is it just kind of the Broncos Chargers? The Broncos obviously take a
I say if the Chiefs are healthy, that's a potential 3 horse race. But with the way the Broncos have the way by what I've been hearing about the Broncos, it's looking like it's going to be a runaway for them. The Broncos just have a lot to work with, uh, and I've seen predictions of that team potentially going 15-2. Um, I know their defense is really well with Pat Surtain. Their offense is getting better.
well, too. And, you know, who knows how far they could go? You know, didn't Bo Nix get hurt in the playoff game last year? That was basically a snow-covered kick fest.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
don't forget they got Jalen Waddle too. They traded for Jalen Waddle.
Mhm.
Yeah, they got Pat Surtain, Nick Bonito on the defensive end. I think their defense is better than their offense by what I've heard. But I think the Broncos were like projected to go 15-2. But if I had to give my dark horse to anybody, I'd probably give it to Jacksonville. That's my potential dark horse for the AFC. Just how they did. I can't remember if they won the division last year, but they did lose to the Paid. Who'd they lose to in the playoffs last year? Was it the Patriots?
With the Broncos
Maybe.
or the Jacksonville. To go back to
They lost to. Okay, so they did win the AFC South last year. Doesn't see who they lost. They lost to the Bills in the wild card by a field goal. So, I think Jacksonville. That's my dark horse.
last year's division winners. Patriots by 2 games. Steelers by 2 games. Jacksonville by a game. Jacksonville had to win 8 in a row because Houston won 9 in a row. Denver by 3 games. Philly by a ton. Chicago by 2 games. Nobody wanted to win the South, but remember Carolina won on that weird playoff tiebreaker deal. And then the Seahawks actually won their division by 2 games. Of course, they went on to win the whole thing, win the Super Bowl, but they finished the year winning 7 in a row. So they finished off
Hot.
extremely hot.
They won 10 in a row basically to get to the Super Bowl. That's kind of crazy. Winning just 2 months straight of football.
And that's the thing, you know, is there enough parity in the NFL this year? Did we see that big blockbuster trade? You know, maybe somebody coming out of retirement. the all-time draft deal, and it does kind of feel like every year there are one or two surprises that you didn't see necessarily, but a team just kind of makes a run. Last year, with that was that Denver. Did we see Denver coming? Probably the Chicago Bears. I don't know if anybody saw them as 11-6. I don't know, but typically is that team that kind of or two teams that kind of surprised you. But my question to you, Jared, is was there enough in the draft or with movement or with whatever
Well,
to cause parity, or we're gonna kind of see
there
the same guys
was.
be the guys?
I think we'll see like the same guys be the guys, like you said, but a lot of movement happened, but a lot of it went to the same team, like the Rams, they got Miles Garrett and Trent McDuffie in the same offseason, both of which are probably top 5 at least top 10 in their own respective positions. Miles Garrett is Bleacher Report's like best player in the NFL, and then Trent McDuffie is a top 5 cornerback, and they got both of those through trade. Um, I think the Rams will probably. I think the Rams will just run away with it, even though with. I think Seattle will fall a little bit because I know they lost a few guys in free agency, but I think the Rams just run away with the NFL this season with what they have because they still have Stafford, they still have Nakua, they still have Devonte Adams, um, and then them just building up that defense with Miles Garrett and Byron Young leading the pass rush. It I you can if you want to talk about the Rams, you can, but I think the Rams just run away with this season,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
especially if Darnold comes back.
And the thing you don't ever want to talk about because you don't want to have to, but God forbid someone goes down with injury,
Hmm.
that can open things up again to parity and different things. But it's almost like the Rams are almost kind of like would loosely use this kind of like the Dodgers this particular offseason with the guys they brought in. And then as we mentioned earlier, Darnold does come back, just even for a 1 year deal, try to get another ring. That would be terrifying because he wouldn't have to be great. He just has to show up in there and take up space.
Yeah,
I think Atlanta can make some moves. They're proving that they like their young core. They're throwing a lot of money at that.
they got Bijan and Drake London. The
You
only
know,
thing with Atlanta is the hole at quarterback, because right now it's between Tua and Michael Penix, and the front office still doesn't know who they're going to start.
my thing,
But
my thing about throwing all that money at a running back though is have you done enough with your offensive line? Trust them that they can create holes for this
mhm.
running back that you just put all this money into um, to be able to succeed and at least get to the second level. So
Because Atlanta, they have a few holes right now. Like I just mentioned, they have the quarterback hole between Tagovailoa and Penix, and
mhm.
then one of their best defensive players, Jalen Walker, tore his ACL the other day at practice. So right now, there's a lot of holes in Atlanta. Um,
But their
so
division is terrible.
yeah, their division's terrible, but I think Carolina will win that division. But because Carolina, they're coming off that momentum to where they almost knocked off the Rams in the playoffs last year. And I just know that in today's NFL, where it's airing it out a lot and not so much rushing the ball as much as the NFL used to be, I think the quarterback just not having a consistent quarterback um, can really hurt a team.
If that's the case, though, why do you think we have so much money thrown at running backs in the past couple of days?
Uh, I think it's just where everybody's getting more money. I don't know why, but quarterback not running backs have been asking for more money recently in the past couple of years. And then I think after seeing how much the Eagles were willing to pay for Saquon Barkley a couple years ago, a lot of running backs were like, I want to make that type of money. So I think not just with this Jameer Gibbs deal next year, whatever running backs hit the market, like even the smaller running backs, not the Jameer Gibbs or like the Bijans, those guys will still get more money increase that we'll notice, and the running back position will probably be more valuable in coming years.
Well, if they're setting the market price now, I mean, we look at that Saquon Barkley deal three years ago, or however long ago it was, 4,
Yeah, like 3 years ago, two
and
years
now
ago.
he's like fourth on the all-time list for running backs getting paid.
Hmm.
So it shows you how volatile and how quick it can change. And quarterbacks is always going to be where the money's at, but the running backs are making a statement right now, and not just
Hmm.
them, but these general managers and teams and agents. So if I'm a running back and I'm looking for agency in the next year or two or something like that, then I'm very very encouraged. But it also puts a lot of pressure on me uh, to know that if I can have any success, then I might be going to the bank with a healthy payday.
Hmm. So who is your? Oh, I didn't ask you earlier. Who's your AFC favorite? Like, who do you think will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl in February?
I'm just looking through the teams now, so I don't forget or overlook anybody like I am prone to doing. Um, and against probably my better judgment, I gotta go Buffalo.
Buffalo.
They're right there last year.
Still got Josh Allen and James Cook.
Yeah, I gotta go Buffalo. Uh, we'll see if Denver and New England can sustain. But you mentioned it, New England's schedule is crazy.
It's rough.
Um, and
Hell yeah, and they got DJ Moore earlier in the season.
so I got to go Buffalo, but I tossed it up between Buffalo and Denver before you asked me that question. But if I have to choose one, just because of Allen and that defense, and again, I know a stadium doesn't play, but that's going to create some buzz. Take some of the weather elements out of the equation with the way it's going to protect the stands. What I hear from more of a roof, and maybe keep some of that noise down in there. And so I'm gonna go Buffalo, but a really close second to Denver.
Yeah. For my AFC favorite, so who was your dark horse for the AFC?
Well, I mentioned a couple like not necessarily playoff teams, but I mentioned
Hmm.
just some teams to watch that are going to get better. I mentioned Tennessee in the AFC. I mentioned Atlanta in the NFC. You asked me for my dark horse in the NFC. That's who you asked me for.
Uh, so your AFC dark horse is really Tennessee, and your favorite's Buffalo. My
Yeah,
dark horse is Jacksonville, and my favorite's Denver, in my opinion. I think after how last season ended for Denver, they're going to want to come back stronger this year with the Knicks injury and just how that whole thing ended against New England. I
mm-hmm.
think they're going to come back strong. And then your NFC favorite and dark horse.
Yeah. I think the NFC favorite is almost too easy when you look at the Rams, just
Mm-hmm.
what they already were plus what they added, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to be scary. And you still have longevity in the quarterback, longevity in the head coach. Um, so I think yeah. And I'm looking at my sleeper. I think last year we would call probably Chicago a sleeper. Detroit kind of fell off the map. Minnesota dealt with quarterback issues. Um, Green Bay, not really sure what happened there in Chicago to come in there and win 11 games. Um, I don't know a ton about them. Um, but what are folks saying about the Saints?
I think Tyler Shuck, of course, their quarterback after he did really well last year. I think they drafted Jordan Tyson with the eighth overall pick, signed Travis Etienne Jr. out of free agency, and their best player probably Chris Olave. So they have a wide receiver core of Chris Olave and Jordan Tyson. Um, on defense, they just have a even defense all around. They got Kool Aid McKinstry, Cameron Jordan. Chase Young. So their offense definitely improved this year. Their running back room is Travis Etienne Jr. and then Alvin Kamara to back him up. And then they got Tyler Shuck at QB.
I think that, and maybe in Atlanta, minus the quarterback situation or the teams to watch out for. I'm trying to have a hard time finding a dark horse. I know I need to, because I just don't think the parity. I don't think there's that much that has changed. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't. I'm gonna say the Vikings, if they can sure up whatever's going on at quarterback.
I think the favorite is Kyler Murray, and I don't think it's. Last I heard, I don't think it's even close between him and McCarthy.
I think if they can, as much as I love McCarthy, would love to see him get the start. I think if they can just get that settled. I think the Vikings are going to be there. You got to think the Lions are going to play better, this year. Um, you know, Green Bay is going to be Green Bay. Chicago, I don't know how much they'll fall off any, but I do. I'm gonna give my. So I think I keep going dark horses, don't I? I'm just
Yeah.
trying to go. I can't think about it. Just the dark horses. You only ask for one. Rams are the favorite. Let me just pick a. I'm gonna go Vikings. They're gonna be my dark horse.
Vikings.
Yeah.
All right.
The other two teams, the teams I think will surprise you, but will not make the playoffs. When I talk about the, Saints or Atlanta, I think those are just kind of that's more fun. A couple of teams to watch for, kind of like I talk about Tennessee.
Yeah,
But I do think the Vikings are going to be a dark horse there. All that
and
to say,
they have Kevin O'Connell too. So with what he did a couple years ago when they had Sam Darnold, he's gonna probably make the right decision. And this team on offense, they're a good team on offense. Like they got Kyler Murray, Aaron Jones Sr. They still got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and then at wide receiver three they have Jawan Jennings, which they got out of free agency, which was a good signing. Um, so they're going to be a good team. I do like that pick. And who knows, maybe Kyler has what Darnold had a couple years ago.
yeah,
Um, yeah, the favorite is definitely the Rams. Um, and then a dark horse. I feel like the Commanders, if they can stay healthy, because of course what Jaden Daniels did a couple years ago, taking that team all the way to the NFC Championship as a rookie. And then just a couple days ago, they signed Stephon Diggs to I think it was a 1 year deal, but that now gives them the Chris Paul, the left guard on their team. They have a left guard named Chris Paul. Their wide receiver core is Terry McLaurin and Stephon Diggs. Um, on defense, on defense they got Sonny Styles out of the draft. I think Adefa Owe is another draft pick they had. I think he did pretty well last year. But if I had to give my dark horse to an NFC team, it'd be the Washington Commanders.
and they're in a division where really you only got to outplay, Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas always comes in with a bunch of hopes, but they end up malign. Giants, granted they have, Coach Harbaugh, so you got to think just by that they're going to be able to play a little better or schematically X's and O's
The only
discipline.
thing is they're young though.
They're young, so you don't, with all due respect, you don't really worry about Dallas or the Giants. Philly, ideally on paper should win that division. But then it's kind of Washington's to take, for that second spot. You just got to outplay, Dallas and New York. So
Yeah.
they'll definitely be competing with Dallas all year to see who wants to be second in that division.
Yeah, because they don't want to take Dallas too lightly. Dallas is still a good football
Mhm.
team, but like you said, on paper, Philly's gonna probably win that division for like what the 15th year in a row.
Mhm.
It feels like. So you just got to try your best to outplay for second and see if you can swipe first from under the Eagles' nose. If the Eagles have a down year because they lost AJ Brown in a trade to Philly. They traded him to New England, but they got Makai Lemon out of the draft, the wide receiver out of USC. Um, and then their defense is just as good. So I think they can just gun it out for second with Dallas. College football.
Yeah.
All right. Here. What teams are getting your attention before the season even begins? SEC, Big 12, ACC, Big 10, whatever. Mountain West with the shakeup with the Mountain West and Pac 12.
Yeah. I'm going to scroll. I'm probably going to do a couple homer picks, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So let me. I'm gonna stay home in that when I talk about the University of Kentucky Wildcats.
Mm-hmm.
You know, picking up. I'm drawing a blank so bad on names today. Will
Will
Stein.
That's my thing, though, is a lot of Kentucky fans.
Well, I'm not saying they're gonna destroy the world because their
that's
their
what I've
schedule is
heard.
brutal.
Kentucky fans are overrating themselves. Like the other schools aren't, but like, look, I love Uncle B, but like you know how they're getting a ton of 4 stars and a little bit of 5 stars, and they're having a good draft class.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is coming in, and you would think with how I'm hearing Kentucky fans talk about it, you think they're gonna win the SEC and make the playoff. Their ceilings is only 6-6. Like now, in a couple years, Kentucky.
But keep that in perspective
Mm-hmm.
with their brutal schedule. They have the 10th, according to 24/7 Sports, the 10th best recruiting as far as the portal
Mm-hmm.
goes, with 30 commits.
Yeah, they'll be good in a couple years, but right now they're only projected to go 6-6.
Which would be a bowl game for that brutal schedule.
Yeah.
You know, ESPN has them. Bear with me here. 9th. You know, ESPN's mentioning that Kentucky's not finished in the top half of the SEC since 22. So even they say, you know, one strong portal class is not going to flip the script like we saw at Indiana the past 2 years. But Will Stein has been there. I think Kentucky's going to be patient. He's a Kentucky guy. Stein, again, as ESPN mentions, and I agree, you know, have Kenny Minchie coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Stein has a great track record with quarterbacks. Kentucky, you know, they always have been built behind the big blue wall. You know, offensive line reinforcements.
But now they're going to turn into a football school.
So, you know, getting guys from Ohio State, Alabama, you know, things like that. Again, I know that they're probably not going to win the SEC, but Stein has definitely changed the culture, changed the perception of that culture. And for Kentucky to get a guy like that, from to bring in the guys he's been able to bring in, I think it's good. I think it's promising. And again, who knows? You know what Indiana's done in just a couple of years with everything. It's so different now about, you know, with the portal and recruiting and all those things. But it's just interesting. They're my team to watch. The SEC is going to be brutal. Again, they're going to be good. It's going to be worth watching LSU.
Have you seen like the projected top 8 teams for the SEC?
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. It's going to be fun this year, talking about the SEC, just to watch the LSU show with Lane Kiffin. It's going to be interesting to see what Vanderbilt can do as their post-Pavia.
Vanderbilt's going to fall off a cliff.
Most likely. And again, I talked about, you know, a homer. You know, it's going to be interesting to see what Michigan can do. Again, out of nowhere, we all know what happened with Sherwin Moore and the decisions that
probably shouldn't say, so we can have the rights to keep this channel.
Yeah, but we know about the decisions that he made that cost him ultimately one of the premier jobs in the country.
Because there's a lot of coaches, I tell you, that dream of coaching that football.
Yeah, program. You know, no doubt about it. You know, I read in a couple different places that, you know, prior to Whittingham getting there, you know, to be able to get Whittingham, arguably one of the top 10 coaches.
After what he did in Utah the past couple years.
In college football, yeah, what he did out west at Utah, you know, which was not a football school predominantly. You think about not a lot of resources. Now he's at Michigan, the Big M, the Block M, the Big House, Jordan Brand, the NIL money, all of
Probably
it.
the richest program in the country.
I've read multiple places where it's like the largest alumni fan base, in the world.
Like most of their fans came from Michigan, or like.
It's just where when they graduate from Michigan and they go off and do whatever they want to do, like that alumni base, the pool
Mm-hmm.
is one of the largest in the world because you
Uh,
have University of Michigan, you have the medical school, you have the music school, you have the business school, you have multiple athletics that go everywhere. But Whittingham has developed a staff, with an offensive coordinator and a coach that's going to just be able to work with Bryce. Apparently, last year, Bryce, everything he did, virtually everything was just on raw talent as a freshman coming out of high school.
mm,
So now Whittingham is able to do that. He's able to focus on football. He's able to move the guys forward, move the needle forward. And it could have been a lot worse. We kept Hitter, that the crazy, incredible,
the fact that
excuse me.
Michigan was able to keep the guys that they did after that Sherrone Moore thing is
The only reason we
impressive.
did was Whittingham. Timothy Carr is breathing down Underwood's throat. Everything people are saying they're seeing about him. Bryce is the guy, but you've got Hitter and Marshall. Marshall's back, so your running backs are studs. Cusdall, he's back. He did an admirable job last year when all of our running backs got hurt. But Hitter is the real deal. We're keeping a tight receiving core with Marsh, excuse me, and that crew back there, and their defense is always going to show up. Again, not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but I think it could have been a lot worse for Michigan this year had they not been able to get
Don't sleep
Whittingham.
on Michigan though. I think Michigan has potential to sneak into that playoff next year.
I think they can. Their schedule, though not as bad as some, you got to think Western Michigan, where they open the year, it's a dub. Oklahoma comes in here. Who knows? I think you may give the nod to Oklahoma.
'Cause the
SEC,
SEC 's better.
they're a playoff team last year. Don't know who Oklahoma brings back.
They
But
still
the
have
fact
John Mateer.
the fact that it's here at the big house, it's winnable. It's winnable. We went down there with a team we had last year and played a much more competitive game than we should have. You got to think UTEP's a win. Got Iowa at home. Iowa always plays us tough. At Minnesota, you got to like that. I still like us winning at Penn State because Penn State's very much in a rebuild.
They're right now in shambles.
So they're not what they were
But
2 or 3 years ago.
Penn State's basically Iowa State the past couple of years, so
Yeah.
don't s- don't go in there too light.
Indiana comes in here.
That's
Again, granted,
fair.
the reigning, champions, but don't have Mendoza. Lost different guys. They're the guy now. So we'll see what that's like. You got to like them winning against Rutgers,
By
Michigan State,
30.
at Oregon. I don't see us winning that one at all.
Quick with it.
UCLA got to be a dub, and at Ohio State, that game is always
50-50.
50-50. So at most,
Not after last year though.
one. Well, we didn't have a quarterback. Or sorry, 2 years ago we didn't have a quarterback and we beat them. And
Yeah, but
and last
last
year we
year-
had a quarterback. Excuse me, but he just, he wasn't getting the reps. And man, we
And-
rolled in that place and home, and they were ready.
Brutus spent more time in the end zone than
They were
Michigan.
ready for us. They were ready for us. It was ugly, but you saw it coming. A couple weeks before we about got
Well,
beat
they
by.
remember they had Jeremiah Smith as a wide receiver.
A couple weeks earlier, we should have got beat by Northwestern.
Mhm. That game was a little bit hard to watch.
That was awful. Should have lost that game.
If you lose to Northwestern, it's probably an automatic fire.
I'm seeing maybe 3 losses.
Mhm.
Oklahoma, Oregon State, Ohio State. Indiana would be 4.
At worst, that's maybe what 4 or 5
At
losses.
worst 4. Yeah, if you stump your toe big time, 5. But that's a brutal schedule. Oklahoma, Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State.
If they probably had the easier side of the Big Ten, like where they played Northwestern and all that, then that's
Yeah.
probably a 10-2 season, but
The good-
rough schedule.
The good thing for us is we have like 8 home games.
Yeah.
You only have 4 road games. So anytime we're at the big house, that does give us a little more chance.
Mhm.
When you got 110,000 of your best friends behind you.
Mhm.
So not to be a homer, but I do think Kentucky is going to be they're going to be better than people thought. I don't like the comparisons of Will Stein to, Indiana and that program. I think that's premature.
Yeah.
Um,
A lot of people are saying Kentucky can be the next Indiana.
yeah,
I'm
why
like,
not? Why not
that's a
just
potential one-time
why
thing.
not just be the first Kentucky? And another thing I didn't mention earlier that I should have is Kentucky's schedule. If I did, forgive me.
I
But
think you did for a
dude,
little
their
bit, but you didn't
schedule:
go in depth. It's a rough
home to
schedule.
Bama, at A&M, at South Carolina, home to LSU, at Oklahoma, at Tennessee, home with Florida, at Missouri, against Louisville.
Welcome to the SEC,
That's
Will
a
Stein.
rough, especially the first part of that thing. Vanderbilt's not a give me anymore, but at Texas A&M, South Carolina always plays us up, at Oklahoma, at Tennessee, Missouri. It's just
How many losses do you see there? 'Cause
oh,
Louisville's also looking tough this
yeah,
year.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll probably see at least
I
6
see
for
like,
sure, maybe 7 right there.
yeah, I agree with you. That's probably 6 or 7 losses.
7 if they stub their toe,
Yeah,
which and it happens. These are kids we're working with.
yeah, because that's the losses are probably what Alabama, A&M, LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee, maybe Louisville or
Mm-hmm.
Missouri,
Maybe at Missouri is always tricky.
potentially Florida
Potentially, I don't. I think
with
we can get Florida this year. You got Summerall coming in
yeah.
to the swamp. I
Where did
think
Summerall come from?
wasn't it
Tulane.
Tulane? I think this is the year you can get Florida. But
Hmm.
if he does what he did at Tulane, you're not gonna be able to get him long.
Yeah.
But
So
so those are, again, it's crazy that both my picks are insanely homer picks, and I don't apologize for that. But I think you're talking about dark horses. I think watch those couple teams because Michigan's definitely gonna be better than they were.
hmm
You'll see the discipline that Michigan's lacked for since Harbaugh, and probably even before. But you'll see the discipline really ramp up, and that'll help. If you're not making penalties and stupid things, and all not all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, you can focus on football. They're going to be good. And I just think Kentucky. I think Kentucky can make a bowl this year, which with that schedule, that's a big accomplishment.
probably what their first bowl in 2 3 years.
Probably, yeah. They went on a run for a while. There were they what 6 or 7, maybe 8 bowl games in a year. Won that many bowl games in a row.
For a while they were like the
Each year,
definition of mid.
yeah. So, but again, that's part of being a middle tier in the SEC. Is you're a middle tier in the SEC.
And that's a very thin window, because you got like the elite teams. You got Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee bouncing in and out there. Then you got the mid where you got like what Kentucky, Missouri, and then you got Vanderbilt, who's in the
Mississippi
basement.
State's probably in the middle.
Mississippi State.
Ole,
Mississippi State's starting to hit the basement though.
Ole
They've
Miss
been
is
it's been
towards the
rough.
upper echelon,
Mm-hmm.
but the bottom, you've got more recently. You've kind of had Kentucky
Mm-hmm.
without Pavia. You've Vanderbilt was there for a long
I think
time.
Vanderbilt's
Mississippi
starting
State.
quarterback's a true freshman this year too, Jared Curtis out of
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee. A lot of Vanderbilt fans were excited about that, but a lot of people are like, you realize he's only there to start because the only other team that's going
Yeah.
for him is Georgia.
Yeah, not even to mention Texas.
Yeah.
Texas, Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss.
Only thing with Texas is how will Arch and that team do this year after last year's
Yeah,
rough go? Did Michigan beat Texas?
they did not.
They didn't win that game.
No, that was basically the backups. They were competitive. I mean, for whatever it's worth, it's not worth much, but they were competitive. But
Yeah, looking at Texas, I'm
it wasn't
seeing
great.
one, potentially 2 or 3 losses for Texas. Their schedule, they open up against Texas State. That's a dub. Ohio State goes to Austin. That's probably an L, no matter where that is. They play UTSA. That's a win. Tennessee, they go to Neyland. What do you think on that one? Is that a coin flip, or do you think Texas edges it out?
I think Texas edges it out. I
I
think
might
they're,
agree with you.
as much as I hate to say that, buddy,
Yeah.
even though you've been on that field.
Yeah. Then Oklahoma, Red River rivalry. That's probably
Yeah, it's
yeah.
big competitive, but
It'll be competitive. Florida, Texas, Ole Miss, be
I-
competitive.
where what are they? There's no. what are the preseason rankings that mean nothing?
I don't think the media rankings are out, but the coaches' rankings are out.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
They've got Texas at 4,
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State 1, Oregon 2, Georgia 3, Texas 4.
I don't get how they put Clemson in there though. After how the past like 2 years at that school
I
have
guess it's
gone,
recency bias.
maybe.
But yeah, on down, Notre Dame starting at 6, Indiana, Miami, A&M, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Bama, Texas Tech, LSU, USC, BYU, Michigan, Penn State's getting a lot of love.
I think Tennessee would have been up a few more spots if one, Arion Carter didn't get suspended for the dumbest reason ever, and if Chaz Coleman didn't get dismissed from the team. I think Tennessee would be maybe 2 or 3 spots higher on that list.
Yeah.
If that
sitting
didn't
there
happen.
At 18, Washington, SMU, Utah, Iowa, Clemson, Houston, and that Missouri team we talked about earlier. Missouri's always just kind of on the verge of that top 25.
Seems like they're just there.
They're just there. They're kind of like a pesky gnat in a good way, Missouri fans.
But one team that has been grabbing my attention this year is Ole Miss. After how last season ended, and I know they still have Trinidad. I think Pete Golding did really well last year. They probably have arguably the best running back in the country in Kyron Lacey. Um, and I think they're just hungry after what Lane Kiffin did to that team last year. What do you think on Ole Miss with
I
how
agree.
they did?
And their schedule is based on some of the ones we talked about to this point.
It's one of the easier schedules.
Much easier. Open the year against Louisville. You got to think that Mississippi will be favored there. Charlotte win, and then here's the do not, cannot, must not miss TV. LSU comes in there to Oxford on September 19th, 7:30. Game day is going to be there. It's going to be crazy. I think Ole Miss wins that game.
You want to know what they did too? They put Lane Kiffin on the road against a ton of his former teams.
Yeah, I'd have done it too. I'd have. Shame on the scheduling gurus, whoever they didn't schedule this game. You got to like them at Florida. Got to love them at Vanderbilt. You got to like them against Missouri. I think they stumble against Texas. You got to like them against Auburn. I think they stumble against Georgia.
Ole Miss is 10th in the coaches' poll rankings also.
At Oklahoma, possibly lost there. So you're looking at maybe 1, 2 losses, 3. They stubbed their toe.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to be right there in the playoff picture this year based on that schedule.
Yeah.
Closing the year against Wofford, Mississippi State, 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
So they won't lose after November the 14th when they go to Oklahoma. And that's a winnable game. I'm just going to give that to Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. Because that's an away game.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Boomer.
Who do you think wins it all as of right now? Or if you have any opinions on the coaches' rankings?
I trust coaches' rankings more than I trust any others.
Mm-hmm.
Because they coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
I also do not like early preseason polls because they're, how do you know?
So much can happen.
How do you know? We're just seeing these guys, what they're letting us see.
I think camp started too a couple of days ago for a lot of teams.
Mm-hmm. Yes, some of the SEC schools just went back this Tuesday or Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
As far as camp, with the portal, and you got to almost lean on guys who are coming back. And as much as this pains me to say, Ohio State was saying and Love and the guys they have their juniors this year, they're going to lose. I don't know that anybody touches Ohio State this year, and that hurts. Like, that hurts so bad to say that.
Yeah, because they got Sayin, they got Bo Jackson, they got that 5-star out of California. I can't think of his name right now to pair alongside with Jeremiah.
And Jeremiah is he's gonna be playing like it's gonna be like you against preschoolers. Like, he's just gonna be destroying people.
Have you seen?
He's different.
Have you seen when he might break the record for like most college receiving yards? Like he might be, after this year, the greatest college football player we have ever seen.
Yeah, he would have been drafted this year, like top 5.
Well, as a freshman, people are saying he's going to be drafted top 5.
Even And again, I mentioned earlier, I'm going to give them my favorite, and I just don't think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be one of those years where that we just see that dominant team. But I think that close next is Texas because I think Arch with a year under his belt now,
About a year and a
all
half.
the hype is gone. There's no more ridiculousness saying he's a Heisman Trophy winner favorite. Man, the guy done nothing. It's not his
Well,
fault
that
just
name
because of
on
his
his
last
back.
name on his back. But I'm going to say watch out for Texas. Their defensive coaching staff picked up Stoops out of Kentucky, which is a brilliant move on their part. So those are my two teams that perhaps the two we see playing for the national championship game in January of 27.
You think Ohio and
Those are my top two teams. Yeah, yep, 100%.
wait, who else?
Ohio State, Texas,
Okay. Yeah. Um,
and they play early in the year, so we'll get a little sneak preview.
I agree with you. Ohio State is probably not going to be touched until next year potentially. Their entire team's going to go into the first round.
That's
But yeah, it ain't looking close. What do we have for college football? It is on to NASCAR.
NASCAR a quarter, 1/4. So four of the 16 teams have already locked themselves into the chase for the playoffs.
I think this is the year for Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect marriage.
Look at Hocevar in fifth.
Yeah, he's gained 2 spots. The only way that you could see Denny not winning this year is, if we were to go back to last year's format, which obviously is not going to happen. Nobody's advocating for that.
I
But
think the
at
only
one
way.
point, Denny was 150 points or whatever back, like of Tyler. Like everybody's like, well, Tyler Reddick just when you win 5 of the first 7 races or whatever it was this year, it's talking about Tyler Reddick.
At this point, the only way Denny Hamlin does win the championship is if his car explodes on the 10th lap of every race.
Yeah, he already has an 84-point lead. He's chased Reddick down, past him. 14 top 10s, 12 top 5s, 4 wins. Only Reddick has more with 5. So, yeah, it's Denny's to lose, and I hope Denny gets one. We have seen something happen over the course of the past year to year and a half with Denny, where, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, he's become likable.
Mm-hmm.
He's become relatable. We said this before. I think he has always tried so hard to play that villain,
That's what he tried
and
to
he's just
do.
not. He's not. Now, terribly, when you have a house fire,
And
and you lose your dad, and you lose the championship last year the way you did.
That was just a rough 2.5
Everybody on the
months.
planet felt bad for that dude, and then to have the house fire and to lose your dad. Mom's health was touch and go for a while. Denny just needs to be Denny. Let what happens in the cockpit speak for himself. You're the greatest driver in NASCAR right now, arguably the greatest driver in the world.
In my opinion, he's probably best driver in the world right now.
Right now, no doubt about it. So it's they can go ahead and put pencil on the trophy and go ahead and put Denny Hamlin's name on it. And here's what I hope Denny does because he's earned it. Not only is he doing well, 2311 is crushing it.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler
Reddick in second.
Corey Heim.
Corey Heim, who's a
Let's not
part-time
talk about
driver,
Bubba and
already has
and
2
Riley.
wins. Where's-
Bubba's hanging on in the playoffs by barely, and then Riley is, well, Riley.
But Bubba's in the playoff.
Mhm.
Going the wrong direction.
Been doing that all year.
Hottest driver in the outside of DH right now is probably Hocevar. He's gained 2 spots recently. And my driver Chase is really, really struggling since his race and win in Texas.
What do you think about Ty Gibbs already having a clinch spot?
I think it's just part of that Toyota paralysis. He's the guy nobody's talking about. And
He's been dead quiet.
But
Even when he won Bristol, it was quiet.
okay, I agree. And to your point, he has as many top 10s as Denny, only 3 less top 5s. Here's where Denny is destroying everybody. One, stage points. So if you know how
Mhm.
stage points work, at the end of each stage of the race, typically there's two. In the Coke 600, there's three. You get 10 points if you finish first.
A lot of
120.
guys see the Coke 600 as a points race more than anything.
It is because you can come out of there with 40 stage points plus a race win. Paying points.
That's 90 points right
You
there.
can come out with potentially 90 points. So he has 179 stage points. The next closest one to him, sorry, he has 179 stage points. Here, this is the point I was going to make. Ty Gibbs, 181.
Mm-hmm.
So Ty Gibbs just clicking off those stage wins. So again, 179, as I was getting excited earlier, nothing to shake your nose about. 179. But Ty Gibbs, 181. 22 starts, 1 win, 9 top 5s, only 3 less than DH, same amount of top 10s. Here's what's hurting
Well,
Ty.
I saw it last year because about midway through 2025 when we went to Michigan last year, Ty Gibbs, I think he finished fifth that race. He finished it was third or fifth, I can't remember. But after that race, I noticed he racked off, I think it was 4 or 5 top tens in a row last year. And then we talked about it earlier this year, but when he won at Bristol, we were like, I think Ty Gibbs has finally found his stride in the Cup Series.
And we talked about Chase is on the other end of that. He's fallen another position. It was fourth even a few weeks ago. Now he's sixth, not locked in yet. He only has 96 stage points. Not great. In 22 starts, do the math, 96 stage points. Here's what's hurting Ty. Ford did not finish. 258 laps led. Denny has led 877 laps. Let's talk about Larson for a minute, just while I'm looking at him. Has not won since Kansas of last year.
Or what?
Working on over a year.
Well over a year.
Well over a year now.
October would be a year and a half.
Eighth in points has fallen 2 positions. He's led 637 laps. No wins. 169 stage points, which is 10 behind DH. But that 5 team at this point is a shell of their former selves. To lead that many laps, based on what I can see here, second most laps in the series, and to have not done it yet is difficult for the 5 team. That's a tough pill to swallow.
It's rough. What do you think is going on with the 5 team? Is it strategy? Is it just Larson?
I don't think it's just a Larson problem, with the exception of Chase this year, and Carson. Chevy's got a brand new body this year. Not a lot of folks are talking about that.
I remember when a lot of people were like, "Well, Chevy's just going to dominate next year with the new body." Didn't they make it more aerodynamic?
I think they're trying to.
It's not working.
But it's not working. Chevy has 6 wins this year. 2. Excuse me. How many has Van Gisbergen got?
SVG has 2.
So 2. Hocevar's got 1. That's 3. Chase has 2. That's 5. So only one other Chevrolet driver has put the bow tie.
Suarez.
Daniel Suarez of the Coke 600. Thank you. So only 6 wins. Compare that to Toyota's 13.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as much as anything, I don't think it's a Hendrick problem. It's definitely not a Cliff Daniels problem. It's certainly not a Kyle Larson problem.
It's just a Chevy problem.
I think it's a Chevy problem this year. I mean, our top Chevy in points is 5th, right? 248 behind DH.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Chevy's learning this year, and I think next year you're going to see that step forward for Chevrolet. Or, they're learning as they go to these tracks for the first time. So when they return to them in the chase, we'll see what they learn and what they pick up from each other. Because they can share all the SMT data and all those things. So maybe they're just compiling stats now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be shocked if Larson doesn't win this year. But he's not to this point. I think that's a huge story.
Who do you think wins the championship if Denny somehow stubs his toe hard?
Oh,
Reddick.
I don't think it's I don't think it's Reddick because I don't think he's ready for the pressure yet.
You think Blaney comes back and gets number 2?
I would say Blaney. Yeah, I really would say Blaney. But carrying the heavy weight for the Ford this year, and Blaney's
Reddick's
third.
been there before though. He went to the championship 4 a couple of years ago.
He has, but I just feel like while I watch races, you see him get inside of his own head, or something happen, or he overdrives the car because he's getting chased down, or he's chasing somebody else down, and you see him get out of the car and just beat himself up, and just I don't, not to say he's not gotten better,
Mhm.
but I just don't think at this point he has the mental strength and fortitude to get there. Now another year or two, I don't think this is an issue. Um, but I think if he gets into a pressure pack situation where it's close, where it's tight, I just think he'll drop over the edge, and he or the team or somebody, I think there'll be a mistake to be made, and then these veterans will be there to pounce. So no, Tyler Reddick is the low hanging fruit, but I'm going Blaney.
Yeah, I might agree with you. So, what do you think's going on with Bell too? I mean, he's 10th in points, which isn't bad, but Briscoe's kind of finding himself a little bit.
Yeah.
And of course, Ty Gibbs and Denny Hamlin have been with Reddick, the banner holders for Toyota. But what do you think's going on with mainly the 20? The 19's kind of found it.
First thing I see here is he is tied for worst in the top 16 with DNFs with 4.
Mm-hmm.
Got to finish races. You've got to finish races.
Oh, and he almost got launched into
Yeah, and that's another
Wisconsin.
thing is he was hurt at the Michigan race with the tangle up with Chase. Without the safety features that are in this car now and in the safer walls,
He would have
we would
died.
have lost Seabell that day if that wreck happened 10 years ago.
Even 10,
We
15
we
years
lose
ago,
Seabell
he
that
still
day.
would have been dead.
And nobody talks about Chase, but we for sure would have lost Seabell that day. He's led 422 laps, which is kind of as much as several. But again, 4 DNFs, that screams to me. He's got 10 top 10s. He has 9 top 5s. And he's in a Joe Gibbs Toyota. The guys that are right ahead of him he's only 4 points behind ninth, Busher. He's only 8 points behind eighth, which is Larson. He's only 14 points behind his teammate Briscoe, and he's only 26 points behind 6, which is Chase. So I know you see 10th, and he's only 29 points, from my math is still good, from 5th. So I'm not super worried about it. I think he has I'd like to see how many runner-ups finishes he has this year.
Mm-hmm.
Has 132 stage points. So that means he's finishing in the top of stages. Means he's there. So with the injury, I'm never going to hit the panic button on Seabell, ever. So I think he's okay. But man, when you have a wreck that vicious, not only the physical but the mental strain that's got to take on you. You have to get out of your car at a road course race soon after. So I think he's going to be okay. What do you think? Are you worried about Seabell?
No, I think I agree with you. He'll probably find something because the past couple years, whenever playoff time rolls around, Christopher Bell, it looks like he just steps up a little bit more than he did. And another thing I have for you is Byron. What do you think's going on with Byron as well?
Byron
he's
is
not having it. He doesn't have
no,
a single win this year.
and he only has 103 stage points. 3 DNFs. He's only led 136 laps. Only 4 top 5s.
And
only-
just 2 or 3 years ago, he had a 8-win,
Only
6-win
9
season.
top 10s. So I don't know if this is a Willie B thing or a team thing, or we talked about the Chevy nose and the new body this year. I don't know much about any of that. I'm not a physicist or aerodynamic specialist. But for me, for whatever reason, I feel like there is concern for William Byron. Again, Larson's leading laps. Larson's got stage points. Chase has 2 wins. We all know that, bless Bowman's heart, he was hurt, and next year, right, will be his last year in that car. But yeah, I am a little worried about Byron, and I really can't tell you what. The main thing is 3 DNFs. You only led 136 laps this year and 22 starts. And your stage points, you've only got 103. So, yeah, I am definitely worried about Byron.
Mm-hmm. Do I have anything else here for NASCAR?
Yeah,
I don't have anything else.
Corey Heim, you better learn that name.
Mm-hmm.
We're running part time this year, as many wins as Chase Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just learn that name, folks, if you don't know it already.
All right. And then up next is the NBA.
I cannot help you much, if at all, here.
Let's see if you can. But probably the headliner of this NBA offseason is the addition of LeBron James and Jaylen Brown to Philadelphia. Already with a good Philadelphia team, they get Jaylen Brown and LeBron James. Jaylen Brown was arguably a top 5 player in the league last year. I think he finished like 4th in MVP voting, and now Philadelphia has him and LeBron James. What do you think on those two head into those two going to Philly?
The Brown was kind of a surprise to me because the way he carried the Celtics through Tatum's injury, I just thought that was extremely tough, extremely admirable.
And Philadelphia,
MVP in the finals.
Yeah, he won Finals MVP.
Yeah, so that one is perplexing to me. Why you let him go? There's a lot we don't know. Not as smart as these guys, but not just that. Are Philly and Boston the same division?
Yeah, they're the same division.
So,
they're both in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Anytime there's a trade inside a division in any sport, I just kind of shake my head. You're like, you really want to play this guy this many times a year?
Yeah, that's also the same division as New York too, I think.
Yeah. LeBron, he's 42 years old.
He's ring chasing.
He's ring chasing this time. He was not the best player on his Lakers team. Probably the last 2, maybe 3 years.
He's probably what, third maybe on this, third or fourth. It's Maxey and Brown.
Brown, Embiid.
They probably put him above Edgecombe.
He's third at best, right? Maybe you could argue maybe fourth. You could argue it. 42. So
they only got him on an $8 million. That's what's crazy too is they got Jaylen Brown and LeBron for cheap. They got LeBron for a 2-year, $8 million deal. All they had to give up to Boston was Paul George and a couple of picks.
Yeah.
Like that's what's insane to me about it all is they got him for cheap. Because in what other world, like imagine saying that to someone 4 years ago, hey, 3 or 4 years ago, hey, the 76ers will have LeBron for $8 million, and then they'll get Jaylen Brown for one player and a couple of picks,
Yeah, it's I mean the Sixers have won they've won the offseason for sure, and did they upset Boston in the playoffs last year? Was that Philly?
Yeah, they came back down 3-1 as a 7th seed and beat Boston. And they finished 45-37 last year, and that was with Embiid being hurt.
That's just perplexing to me. Like, you let those guys go to the team in your own division and a team that took you out as the 2 seed last year.
Because that division is Boston, New York, Toronto, and Philly, and Brooklyn. But Boston, New York, Toronto, and Philly all made the playoffs. So 4 of those 5 teams made the playoffs last year.
And will again this year, presumably.
Because Toronto, I think the trade's being investigated right now, but Toronto might get Kawhi back.
Yeah. Again, Father Time is undefeated. You got to think Kawhi may want to go back where he won a ring and just see if he can get one more, get close.
Yeah. Just the Clippers are under investigation, so that's why that trade didn't go all the way through. Did the Braves win?
They are winning 2-0 in the 4th. There's a weather delay because it's Atlanta, and the weather. We went to Atlanta Braves game last Sunday.
That was awesome.
It was hot. Atlanta is hot in August.
It was still July. Or was it?
It was August.
Oh no, it was
2nd,
August.
August 2nd.
Yeah, it was August 2nd.
Here's maybe you can help with this one. I know it's not on our list. The Pistons did blank, fill in the blank, to get better or help Cade Cunningham this offseason.
Absolutely nothing. You want to know what they brought in for him? I saw only one thing that stood out for the Pistons. They traded away Karis LeVert for Torian Prince and Gary Harris
And
to Milwaukee.
got a kid at OKC.
And then,
But not,
they got Isaiah Joe out of OKC. That's just for depth.
Yep.
But Jalen Duren's in free agency because the Pistons didn't want to pay him what he wanted. So he threw a little fit. But what do you do if you're Cade? You don't want to leave. But
I don't let you go.
that wouldn't be fair. But what do you do if you have probably a top 5 point guard in the NBA and you're doing nothing? The next best player you have next to him is probably Asar Thompson, but Asar Thompson can't play offense.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I don't know if you're going to be good again. I think Philadelphia is going to be a monster favorite. How could they not be?
mm-hmm.
New York didn't get worse.
No,
So they're probably going to be top four seed, which is a home game in the first round. With Bickerstaff, I love Bickerstaff. I'm a huge Bickerstaff fan. He'll have them playing well, defense especially. Detroit basketball, the bring your lunch kind of whole mantra. Maybe they're looking at something the next year or two that's not going to set them back. Because let me ask you this: what legitimate plays do you think they could have made this year to maybe make a run at somebody?
Well, getting rid of Jalen Duren, that of course gave you a ton of money to open up. I think in my opinion, they should have extended Tobias Harris, keep that option there, but instead they let him walk to San Antonio. I don't know who fully was available in free agency this year, but I think they should at least try to get a Walker Kessler, or try to just get somebody that could help Cade Cunningham.
You look at some of the guys that moved, LeBron, Kawhi, Giannis, Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I forgot about. I don't know why, but I forgot about the honest thing. Miami, with Mr. 83.
Yeah, maybe they're just waiting on something, but I agree. We were kind of all, the teams that played. We should have lost in the first round to Orlando. But the teams in the playoffs proved you can't just have one guy. You got to have two, maybe three.
Yeah, I'm looking at trades right now. The only Pistons I'm seeing is Isaiah Joe and when they traded in the draft. Not a lot of movement from Detroit when there should have been some.
But beyond LeBron, what moves did you see the Lakers making this year in the free agency market?
They went after Walker Kessler, which gave them a solid. I'm looking for what they did. They did Walker Kessler. I did like that move by them. They got Quentin Grimes, Sancho. I'm gonna butcher this name. Magalivisi. I think he's a shooter.
Nailed it.
But Colin Sexton. So they got more
younger
offense, and they got younger. But right here's a projection for the Lakers rotation. Their starting five will be Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Quentin Grimes, Sancho Makalevisi, and then Walker Kessler. So a good offensive team. That team can shoot the ball. And then coming off the bench, they say Colin Sexton, Bronny James, Cameron Carr, who they got out of the draft. Don Connect, Jake LaRiviera, Jared Vanderbilt, and Adu Thero, and then Ayton. So I think they're going to try to build around Luka and Austin Reeves, see what they can get out of this probably 3 to 4 year window with them. But LA will be okay, but they won't be like a threat in my opinion.
And then Jared, used to be your favorite player. One of your favorite players is now playing in a new town.
Yeah, Ja got traded, and we didn't even get a pick. I was like, we need a pick out of that. But yeah, John Morant got traded to Portland. I think that is just code for Memphis hitting the rebuild button. Because of course they trade away Desmond Bain, Jaren Jackson, and Jaw all within a probably 1 year window. Um, so I think they now hit the reset button and are going to build around Cameron Boozer and Zach Eady and Cedric Coward. So that's what I
Yeah,
think.
Memphis was 25-57 last year. Portland, seventh in the West, two games over 500, and you're able to go out and get a guy, like Jaw.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, he can return to some of his, former glory. But you're going to a team that was, right there. Seven seed last year.
Yeah, and
They're
then
part of the playoff. So
here's their, according to ESPN, this is what their starting five could potentially be: John Moran at the one, Damian Lillard at the two, or Shaden Sharp at the two. I think it will probably be Sharp by day one. Tamani Kamara, so one of the best defensive players in the league. Denny Advia, who had a really good year last year, and then Donovan Klingen, who was again, who's a pretty good center, can rebound, can shoot. So Portland could be probably a top five team next year, just by the John Moran addition and with how young they are.
if they could find 10 extra games on the win column, I know it's not a small feature, but that puts them to 5 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Puts them right there. Denver 54 wins, LA 53 wins, Houston 52 wins, Minnesota 49 wins, and then Portland 42 wins. So they're not far off. So maybe they feel like that just kind of puts them over the edge. And if not, you're still the 7 seed.
Mm-hmm. So just before the NBA season gets underway, who do you think could? Who do you have coming out of the East, and who do you have coming out of the West?
I want to take. I mean, if Philly doesn't come out of the East, I have serious questions about that. Um, and it's going to be so interesting to see this year. San Antonio versus OKC. Has there been a changing of the guard now?
OKC made a few trades this year. I'm sorry to interrupt
No,
you,
you're
but
good. But
I
talk
know they
about
made a
how
few
smart their
moves.
front office is, even as recent as this year.
I know they somehow found a way to get Jared McCain last year for just 2 first-round picks.
And got some more first round picks this year, right?
Yeah, they traded away Lou Dort for a couple of picks to Atlanta. Um, what else did they do? They
Who?
traded Isaiah Joe for more
This owner and
picks.
GM needs to be
Sam
studied.
Presti.
He needs to be studied.
And then, oh yeah, they got Bennett Sturts out of the draft. They traded Memphis for Bennett Sturts, which is crazy. But according to ESPN, here's the potential starting five for OKC: SGA, Jared McCain, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and Isaiah Hartenstein.
To me, it's gonna be interesting. The Spurs got over the hump there in the Western Conference Finals. Did the West did the NBA Finals go 7 last year?
It went to 5.
5. 5 and 7, not that far off. Um, to me, it's going to be OKC's way until you see they're not continuing to get first round draft picks back. They're not continuing to stay young.
I think I think I'm gonna have San Antonio come out again, just because I'm very heavy on San Antonio without because they signed Tobias Harris this offseason. We've seen him play in person and know what he can do. And then they have De'Aaron Fox. I think they should find a way to have Dylan Harper start over De'Aaron Fox, in my opinion. But I think San Antonio again because Wemby has taken a pay cut for that team, and they just had OKC's number last year.
Yeah. They're only 2 games behind OKC last year in the final standings. 64 and 18 OKC, 62 and 20 San Antonio.
But another team to look out for in the West is Minnesota. They got
Mhm.
LaMelo Ball this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And then they still have Ant and Jaden McDaniels. So I think Minnesota and San Antonio and OKC will be very competitive.
Yeah. And I
this year.
really, not to not answer your question, but I really think you can throw a coin up and get OKC or San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
And what's scary is those two teams are going to be good for a very long
They're
time.
both young.
Long time they're going to be good.
And then their last thing before we hop off of here, one big rumor right now is Steph potentially going to Boston.
Send him to Philly.
Philly might have the money.
Send him to Detroit.
Have him play the two.
Yeah.
But
Just-
yeah,
Just-
could you imagine that though? Jason Tatum and Curry together.
No. But again, Father Time's undefeated, and Curry's not what he was 10 years ago, and he knows that. So it's
Well, the Warriors
know.
said they're not focused on.
well, they can't be.
Winning with
They're
him.
old. They're still throwing money at Green and Steph. Last year they were 10th, 37, eight games under, 37 and 45, 27 behind OKC.
Yeah.
Finished the
And
year 3-7.
Their
on-
plan was to get LeBron,
So
which
they're-
didn't work.
which is not a great plan because he's old too.
Yeah. I think they wanted like one last ride. Like I think the plan was keep Curry. You'll still have Curry, of course. Get LeBron, re-sign Green, and then there was also rumors that they might try to go trade for AD, but Washington was like, we're not going to do that. As Washington, they want to make the playoffs this year. That was one reason why they went after Trae Young and Anthony Davis last year. And then they got the Bonsta too this year. Washington is another team I'd look out for this year if they stay healthy because their starting five is Trae Young, Trey Johnson, AJ DeBonsta, Alex Sarr, and then Anthony Davis. And Sarr and Davis, that's probably one of the best defensive front courts in the entire NBA. I just don't know too much about their bench and their depth. But that's what I think of how Washington can finally get over that little slump. Oh my God.
All right, folks.
Like, share, comment.